This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, on November the 20th, 2023, with fireworks going on behind me in Toronto because, well, that's where I wish I was. And hopefully I can get there eventually. I was supposed to live there this year, but planning to move and things complicating things, that seems to be a thing. So I'm still here, still working, and still doing the show. Either way, I did make it to Toronto for Frightmare in the Falls. But folks, I have I was going to say three-time guest, but he's done some compilation with other people from 13 Fanboy. But this is his third solo interview on here. I have the producer of that show, plus the host of The Terror Express, and of course, soon to, well, maybe movie, hopefully, the screenwriter behind Bitch. No, that's not a misogynistic title. It's a werewolf, female werewolf movie. I gotta say, I like it. Folks, I give you Jason Bradford. How you do, Jason?
Hey, I'm good, Greg. How are you? Thank you for having me on for the fourth time. Yeah.
Is it the
I
fourth?
wanted to mention want to mention about bitch. You said nothing misogynistic. I want to just clear out Karen, who is my lead character in Bitch, which is being written into a novel, is very well. Let's just say she's definitely the alpha of the pack. She's a very, very strong character who leads
She's
everyone.
she's a Karen.
She's a Karen, yeah. Well, every character in Bitch is named after a werewolf or an actor in a werewolf movie or a character from a werewolf movie. So Karen was Dee Wallace's role in The Howling, so she's named after Karen. So, and she's a big bitch, Karen. Let me tell you, I did not intend that when I started writing this. I think I started writing that back before Karen was a stereotype for a
Yeah, I
bitch.
don't know where that came from,
It,
but
it just worked out that way, I guess. But yeah,
there
she's
you
a Karen.
go. So, anybody that sees this on video, I mean, you say that's your Halloween tree. You get a Christmas
That,
tree with Halloween. You know,
that is my, yeah.
that's actually kind of creative because, you get people that will keep a tree up all year and they'll Valentine's Day, they'll put Valentine's stuff on,
Too much work.
St.
I'm too
Patrick's and,
lazy.
huh?
Too much work. I'm too lazy. This is my Halloween tree. It's my purple tree. I keep green and purple lights on it, and there's Halloween decorations, and it stays up all year. I'm in my guest bedroom right now,
There you go. Well, you know what?
so
That's
it
creative.
never comes down.
Why do I get the feeling that Mike Guttridge must have one of those, the director of the Bone Garden? I mean, I think he keeps his Halloween stuff up all year round.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Hey,
Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I don't have anything up because Skittles won't decorate. He'll make a
Halloween is
mess.
my favorite holiday.
A lot of people like Halloween, and then they get angry over Christmas coming, and I'm like, look, you know how many Christmas slasher films are out there? Embrace it.
Yeah, and now we have Eli Roth's Thanksgiving.
I just
How
saw it
many
last
Thanksgiving
night.
movies have been at the theater? How was it? I want to see it.
I actually enjoy it. For an Eli Roth. Eli Roth to me, and many times he's just friggin' gross. But I gotta
Yes,
say, this was my favorite thing he's done.
it looks fun.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's about time that they did that trailer from the Grindhouse. So
Yeah.
yeah, they were pretty
Well,
faithful to it.
I think other than Thanksgiving and all those movies that we have out that are like the B movies, which are fun movies, but I think the scariest thing that we've had for Thanksgiving was the dinner that Charlie Brown served with the the toast and the popcorn and the jelly beans. I think it was jelly beans in the Charlie Brown episode of Thanksgiving was I think the scariest thing we've had until now.
I had Duncan Watson and Michelle Khan, excuse me, who were the voices of Charlie Brown and Lucy in
Hmm.
Oh, I try to think of it. It was the 1977 Charlie Brown movie where they went to camp. But anyway, that was fun. But
Yeah. Jennifer Banco did a voice of Lucy in Why Charlie Brown, Why the cancer cartoon. The little girl that gets leukemia.
I forgot about that. Didn't she do a voice in the latest movie that they did back a few years ago?
I'm not sure.
I go to admit Jennifer Blanco's pretty funny, those faces she
Yeah,
makes.
she is.
Yeah.
She is hilarious. Yeah,
Yeah. But nonetheless, yeah, I never saw a Halloween tree before, so um that is awesome. Jack-o'-lanterns at the bottom of it. Hopefully
I
they're
have a witch. There's a witch at the top, and there's a witch in the middle, and then there's like bats and Frankenstein and ghosts, and just the fun black garland and orange garland, just fun Halloween stuff.
is that Rick Serra sitting in the chair over there?
That Yeah, he pissed me off, and that's what happens when you piss me off. He had an
Yeah.
acid bath,
Yeah, he
but maybe Frank.
looks a little thin in the skin.
Wrong way. Yeah, yeah, it's a quick way to lose weight.
Hmm. But anyway, I'm happy to have you on here. I know in the last couple years we've had our differences, but like with Rob Mahoney and others, I prefer to have the peace. And when it comes to 13 Fanboy, that peace is not going to come for at least a couple of people, but nonetheless, I'm happy to have it come here. So, but nonetheless, I know Dell came to fruition. I mean, this wasn't on your end, mind you, when some screenshots were sent to me and by Orlando Rodriguez. And I'm going to say this: I'm happy that he had my back because I had no idea this was going on. I know you didn't put the screenshots, but nonetheless, I'm happy he had my back on that. But and I know he's coming back on here. Supposed to come back on here tomorrow, and he and I just kind of agreed to move past this, and I kind of agree. We're both kind of tired about it, but I know last time I had him on, he had mentioned stuff with Terror Express and your screenplay or your writing, and
Mhm.
and I. I don't have a dog in that fight, but I'm happy to have you come on here and say your piece in that, um, and
I
put
like your
things.
pun.
Uh,
I like the pun. You don't have a dog in that fight about bitch. That's I don't know if that was deliberate or if it was
Actually, you know what?
unintentional.
It
Nice pun.
wasn't deliberate, but I'll take it. I never thought of it that way, but I'm just saying Orlando had my back, and I appreciate him for that. But again, I'm here to make peace today, and I'm happy that you took the time to come on here and clarify some things on your end, and I certainly don't want to attack your property. And I think he also wants to kind of move past that himself, so I'm happy about that. And
Good.
yeah, but you started before we get to bitch. Let's talk about the Terror Express, um, because I know one thing he had said that idea came from him. Am I reading that right?
He did say that.
Hmm.
We had many conversations. I don't know if he's pursued it or not, but when I met him, he had a podcast. I think it was called Orlando at Midnight. I was a guest on it with my husband Paul. We were both on it when we were in Chicago, and we got to talking about how he wanted to grow his podcast, and I said I was thinking about having one, so we thought, well, let's do one together. Kind of learn as we go.
Hmm.
And there was the Witching Hour, I think, was one of the names that we came up with, and one of the guests that we were talking to said, well, the Witching Hour already has a podcast, so that was out. We batted a bunch of names together, and then there was one that I liked called, and I wanted it to be, the theory was have a vibe of having coffee at a cafe, a 30-minute episode, 20-minute episode where someone can listen to a friendly, upbeat conversation between myself and Orlando and the guest on their way to work, or while they're doing something quick, and they can get through the whole episode rather quickly.
Hmm.
And then so I thought, well, how about, and I want it to be supernatural, I want it to be horror related with the horror community. So I thought, well, how about Horror Express? And he mentioned that Horror Express, and I had totally forgotten this. Is what a wonderful movie with Christopher Lee, I believe, where there's like this frozen caveman Bigfoot type thing on a train. I don't know if you remember this movie where their eyes
I
would turn
actually
orange
don't know
blood.
that one. Is it a Hammer movie?
It is a Hammer movie, or
Oh, is
it's
it?
at least a very Hammer-esque movie. It may very well be Hammer, but it was 1973, I believe. But anyway, so we were batting some ideas around, and I just made this video, like a quick intro video. It's like 30, 40 seconds long. And that was the first time I was playing around with the title, The Terror Express, and I put it on there, and I showed it to him, and he goes, "Oh, I like that." So that was how The Terror Express came around, was us batting back and forth, and Horror Express was taken, so I just put Terror Express on a video, and he liked it, so we went with it.
You know
And
what it makes me
that's
think
how The
of?
Terror Express was born. What's
It
that make
kind
you
of
think of?
makes me think of Terror Train.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it ties in with terror, and you got Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, she's an icon of horror, so yeah,
Yep. No, so nope, the Terror Express, and I know that you have a thing for the supernatural, because I know I threw a guest name at you, Kevin Kane, and I hope you do eventually reach out to him. He was put in touch with me by Cindy Hines, who was the little girl in The Brood, and
yeah.
yeah,
I
and
did. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to
no,
cut you off. Go ahead.
he is an interesting character, and there's does a lot of the stuff about possessed dolls and stuff, and if you're into that kind of stuff, I think you'll
Oh
find him
yeah,
fascinating. Yeah.
yeah. Well, the reason I did go to that link that you sent me with him, and I did
Mhm.
see his podcast, and it kind of reminded me of a podcast version of Friday the 13th, the series, with the cursed items. Each episode was a cursed item, and I thought
Yeah.
that was very hip, and I was very interested in that. And I think I do intend on reaching out with him. But this is what's going on with my guests right now. My second season started. I think I got 7 or 8 celebrity interviews, and then I've got several fan interviews. I have like 4 channels on the Terror Express. There's Terrorize, where I talk to independent filmmakers about their projects and artists about what they're working on. I have Scaredy Cats, where we have people come on and we talk about their true life supernatural experiences, whether a celebrity or not. Then I have Terror. Well, there's Terrorize, there's Scaredy Cats, and then there was Terror Talk, where I have horror fans come on and we just talk about their favorite horror movies. And then there's the Terror Express with the celebrities from favorite horror movies. I've had guests on from Evil Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Slumber Party Massacre. I've had guests on from um, the Monster Squad. I've had Terrifier on. I've had Sleepaway Camp. I've had guests from all those films on there sharing their real life supernatural experiences. And so yeah, it's been fun. But I stopped reaching out to guests temporarily because of the SAG-AFTRA Writers Guild. Because during their strike, many of them were unable or unwilling to share what they were working on and to promote, and that was a big part of the Terror Express. Every episode, I like to offer them that chance to promote. And since the strike was going on, I just quit reaching out to people altogether. Plus, with Bitch being written into a novel, and I have 2 other stories that I'm working on. I've submitted one called "Don't Put My Eyes in Your Mason Jar," which is a supernatural, spiritual serial killer kind of story. It's kind of a weird mix, but and then I was writing another one, or I am writing another one called "When I Die," and that should be published in the next couple of weeks. Barnes and Noble. Hopefully, I have my editor glossing over it, making sure everything is dotted and crossed and all that fun stuff. But
What's When You Die
now
about?
right. Pardon?
What's When I Die about?
When I Die is actually a true account about my aunt who was diagnosed with cancer.
Hmm.
months after she should have been diagnosed with cancer. She went to a hospital, they ran tests, they didn't find it, or they didn't say they found it, I should say. And then months later, when she was really sick, she went to another hospital and they said, "You're stage 4." And 2 weeks later, she was on hospice. And within 4 days, I think it was, after going into hospice, she passed away. And on her deathbed, she said, "Tell my story. Tell them that that hospital killed me." So that's actually kind of a biography that I'm writing as her death wish, her true experiences, and how she blamed a non-for-profit corporation responsible for her death because of corporate greed. So that will be coming out very soon. That one was very personal. I've been working on that one for a while.
Yeah, I certainly understand that. Yeah, corporate greed seems to be a thing.
Corporate greed is a thing. It is a thing.
I think that's
No,
one of the
and
reasons I can't get moved as well. It's just rent and rent inflations is through the roof.
mm-hmm.
And I think people really need to take a step back and think, you know what? Pushing the middle class down to the lower class is not going to help anybody in the long run.
Right.
That, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
here's the thing. I work at the hospital. I know you have a hospital background. I work at a hospital, and during the height of the pandemic, right at the apex, there was talk they were going to close. They released a statement to the news promising they weren't closing the doors. 2 days later, they laid everybody off, thousands of people, myself included, and they literally closed their doors to 700,000 people in the community that used them and needed them during this frightening time during the pandemic, when we're like, no, when it was still unknown. It was still, we had a 4-body morgue at the hospital. They took the old laundry facility and hooked up an air conditioning unit and put 300 beds in there to make a makeshift morgue, because we had so many people dying every day. We had nowhere to put them. And then they closed, which would have been more burdensome to not only the community but to the EMT workers, who now had to take them to other places, to the fire, to the rescue who were being called, to the other hospitals. And when they come back, when they reopened, which I'm proud to say I had everything that I could possibly do to do with that. I reached out to the governor, I reached out to the mayor, I interviewed on CNN, ABC, NBC, local channels. I was interviewed by Germany, Australia, Canada. I had all these countries reaching out to me. I had a YouTube channel where I would just go on and update the world. I would get like 150,000 views in one day. And I was a little overwhelmed by that. But so my point was, when my aunt got sick and they didn't have the staff, they wouldn't pay the staff. Staff was leaving. Example, nurses' aides, their safety ratio is 1 to 8. This should be the most they have for one nurse's aide. They should not have more than 8 patients. Now we're working with nurses' aides who are working with 32 to 20, 24 to 32 patients alone. That's not safe. So my aunt, just on her deathbed, she said, "They killed me. I want you to tell the world." And if corporate greed hadn't been a thing and they had more staff, they had valued their employees, if they had valued the community, if they didn't close the doors to them, they may have taken better care of their patients. My aunt's is just one story. I know other stories from at least 3 or 4 other who had passed away in that hospital due to the same situation and circumstances. So when I die, from healthy to hospice is the full name of the story, the Joyce Jackson story. That is where that comes from. That was just to open people's eyes as to what happened, and it could happen to someone, and just be aware of the medical facility that you're going to. Be aware that when you call an EMT, you have no say where they take you. They have to take you to the nearest facility that's capable of handling the situation as to what you're going in for. So there's just a whole lot of things that, I'm sorry, this is probably not what we had planned on
Well, I was
talking
gonna
about.
say, if it was
Not
me,
horror related.
it would be best if they never take me to the one here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be any worse than the one here.
Well, I got terminated from my job because some asshole working there was intruding into my personal life.
Mm,
And I had a few things to say about that routed around 4-letter words and other
mhm,
things. And
mhm,
I got terminated. And my biggest issue was, during the 13 months I was there, I never missed a single day of work. I worked
mhm,
overtime, double shifts, including an 18-hour shift that I worked because people weren't showing up. There were two um, 3-day weekends I encountered where I get done an overnight and find out 17, there's always 17 people called in sick, which is bullshit. Guess who stayed on?
A
I did.
lot.
Yep.
Yeah. Let me
And
ask you, you union? Were you a union shop?
yeah,
Did you file a grievance for unjust
I
termination?
I lost the grievance. Now I'm going regional with it
Good, good. Don't give up on that. Appeal it. Push it.
because they got somebody working there who got their job back after being passed out drunk in a patient's room. They have another person there who's been high at work more than once, got their job back. And they had another person who was known for being a thief who had their job back. I'm sorry, I can and basically my thing was I had a crush on one of my coworkers who had a boyfriend. She wasn't bothered by that, but the problem was there were other coworkers because toxicity in the workplace is a thing, and people
Yeah.
around were talking,
Yes.
even though there was nothing romantic between us. And somebody whose business it wasn't decided to stick his nose into it and
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
me
Those
that
are.
and tell me that this person didn't want to be my friend anymore, even though I didn't hear it from that person. But they always said the same thing to me. I heard this by more than one person. Miss Wright will be around sometime. Miss Wright is right around the corner. And I get tired of hearing that. It's about the same as somebody saying thoughts and prayers in result of a school shooting. It's empty. And I blew up and I said, if I ever meet Miss Wright, I'm going to treat her as the same garbage I've been treated. Now, I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. And I have never in my life abused a woman. I spend time with Lisa in Toronto. And by the way, I shared this with her, and she said what one of my retired supervisors said. They both said the same thing. Greg, you had a bad day. They knew that that wasn't really me. But here's the thing. I called I wasn't suicidal, but I needed to talk to somebody. So I called the suicide hotline. And when I told them about this, the guy on the other end said, "Back up for a minute. Back up. Who did you threaten?" And when I mentioned to him, he said, "But Miss Wright doesn't exist." He said, "You didn't threaten anybody,
Mm.
you know?" And I brought that up in the grievance and I still lost. I got 9 Bravos, perfect attendance, worked holidays. I worked double shifts, including the 18-hour shift. And I'm going to tell you, I was a zombie on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I worked any unit they put me in. I'm sorry, I didn't even get asked if I would take anger management or any form, anything like that. But it doesn't stop there because there was another person that I had witnessed, another person that I worked with there who was suspended for 2 weeks without pay. I witnessed the incident. The person was not at fault. They got suspended for 2 weeks, and I was never called in as a witness. I'm sorry, there's something wrong
Yeah,
with that hospital.
their thorough investigation was definitely not a thorough and partial investigation. It seems very biased. Maybe it's a hospital thing. I work for a hospital, and let me give you this example. I had a member. I'm a union steward, chief union steward. I had a member who was sent home on suspension pending investigation because she went into a break room and took supposedly napkins and salt packets and put them in her purse. I mean, you're going to suspend someone over taking 3 napkins and some salt packets that you can't even prove that they took. And that's what they caught her on security camera. Now, here's the thing that happened to me a couple of months ago in September. A woman comes into the hospital. She walks around for almost an hour. She came into the office where I was sitting, which has no panic button, has no escape route, however you pronounce it. There's no escape at all. And they train you in the hospital. Your three options when you're presented by somebody who could be hostile is to either run, hide, fight. Well, there's no running, there's no hiding in that office. So the only other option is to fight. And I made the point. She took my property. She left the office. I didn't know she was there. We could have ran into each other because it's like an L shape, and I was around the corner. And I said hello. Nobody answered. If she had seen me at the point where she was standing there with my bag, which had confidential union business information in it, who's to say how she would have reacted? I did my research. I know who she is. I know she's been in prison on and off for 12 years for grand larceny, and I made the point. Our office door needs a padlock on it, a combination lock or a badge lock. Our break room has one. I mean, they're so fucking, excuse the language, they're
No, go
so
ahead.
interested in keeping their salt and their napkins safe that they'll put those behind a lock. But when I said we need a lock on this office door for this very reason, and it was also confirmed after she left that when she left the hospital, she had a gun. She was armed when she left this hospital. For an hour, she walked through the hospital. Where were the security cameras then? Why weren't they using them for the purpose of keeping secure, keeping everyone safe? But yet you're going to look at, oh, this member did that. That member took an unauthorized break. That member was talking and passing. Let's write them up. Let's suspend them. But let's let this woman walk out of here with a gun and a backpack in an office that could have ended disastrously. And when I said, and then when I asked why we haven't had a lock yet, and mind you, it's been 3 months, there's still no lock on this door. I was told the hospital won't get one because they're too expensive.
Oh,
So do you know how much? Do
yeah.
you know how much the most expensive lock is? The badge lock? Because I researched this, $6,000 in an office that holds 8 people. That means we are worth less than $1,000 each to keep us safe and alive. But then again, like I said, my aunt feels they killed her because of corporate greed. So why would they spend $6,000 to keep 8 people safe? So my aunt has a point.
Another thing with me is that, and this is one when that guy podded into my personal life. I'd never had a girlfriend before, so I'm awkward around women. Not dangerous, just my communication skills with them is off. I have a really good friendship with Lisa. I've got a good friendship with Nancy McLaughlin.
Yeah, she's
And
sweet.
she's
Lisa, but Nancy
awesome.
was
Nancy spoke very highly of coming on your show.
and I thank you for that. I reached out to Nancy. Like I said, I'm on pause right now. I reached out to Nancy. She had a post on Facebook that she was going somewhere and she wanted to promote it. So I thought, oh, she's willing to promote. So that's why I reached out to her and was like, come on, I'll help you promote it. So that's how she came onto the show. I wasn't officially looking for interviews at that time, but I was so happy when she said yes, and it was a lovely time talking. And she was very sweet. And I have one of the wooden necklaces. That you got it over there.
Yep, I've got it.
Yeah, we talked about that on the show. I got number 1. What number are you?
Actually, I got this too.
Yeah, that looks familiar. I know the bastard that makes those.
I got that, and I got a Ted White signed hockey mask, and I got this.
Yeah, I love that. I've worn it twice in my life. I keep it safe on display behind the locked cabinet. I wore it with my Lauren Marie Taylor interview, and I wore it with my obviously Nancy McLaughlin interview. I had to wear it, but those are the only 2 times I've ever worn it because I treasure it too much to risk anything happening.
Yeah, but what I was saying before is that when you haven't had relationships like that, it can be awkward, and so when this guy comes at me and says this and this and this, that's why I exploded. It's like, like, why me? But I'm going to tell you something else that didn't set well, and this is another where people stuck their nose in. I'm not involved in this lifestyle, but I had a guest on my show named Raymond Fletcher. He was the author of the Cuckold Bible. And you know what cuckolding is?
Isn't it something sexual?
It's men that get turned on by watching their wife or girlfriend with other men. Now,
Okay, that's normal.
I'm not involved in that, but that
Yeah,
became
voyeurism is a thing. It's definitely
well, I
what
have
do you call
people on here from
it?
all walks,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. But I had him on here because I think I first heard about this on something with the Howard Stern show, and I found it fascinating. I'm not involved with this, but that became another issue at work as well. And plus, I think also, and this was brought up to me by one of my guests in Toronto, that my desire to live in Toronto as opposed to Fredericton here may have played into it as well, although they're not going to admit to that. I find it funny what I post on my Facebook page is really nobody's business, but anytime I posted something Toronto related, somebody from the hospital was on there and criticized it.
I have someone watching my Facebook from the hospital. I know who it is. It's the director of nurses. Every time I put a post on there about negative with Facebook, I'm called in the office with HR saying you need to take this down. I'll say no, and that's the end of it. For 3 years, you can't post that. Well, stop me. It's nothing slanderous. It's all true. I'm not saying anything that isn't actually happening. Make me take it down. Fire me. And I've been there 10 years, and I'm not trying to press my luck or anything. I know how to maneuver and play their games. I'm not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize myself. But the point is, I know what it's like to be watched. Even in the union group, there's someone who's reporting back to HR. So you have them everywhere. Every place of business has their mole.
Well, I remember when I got the Cuckold Bible so I could read up on prepare for this guy. I did a video of my I haven't actually read it, but I did a video where my unboxing video of it. And I never mentioned my place of work. I just said people at work are sure go find this funny or whatever, something like that.
Right.
And I got in trouble for that. And that fell into me being terminated. I'm like, they said you're not supposed to talk about work on your. I said I didn't talk about work. I didn't mention my workplace.
Right.
So I'm going regional with it right now, and I've had like one of my retired supervisors who who is totally with me. Actually, I've had three supervisors say I had got the wrong raw deal on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, three.
Yeah, and it's not common that supervisors will defend the employees. They're usually the ones who are against them. So that's if you have three on your side, that's a good sign. Get have your steward get written statements from them. Well, they probably won't write statements because it's a union shop and they don't want to get involved, butt heads with the administration. But if you could, if they would, that would be really good. They could always be subpoenaed, and I use that word. It's not actually a legal thing, but if they ever went to arbitration or anything like that, they could be called.
Well, they say it could take up to 18 months to 2 years before they're regional. And if I happen to be in Toronto at that time, then I'm not coming back here to go to court over that, you know. It's just that, but
If,
I don't think
if
I
you
should
get
have been, huh?
no, no, you shouldn't have that. That's kind of bullshit. And I
I
was gonna
like,
say in the same sense. So you shared this thing. It was like I know you said it was a Bible, but it was about voyeurism, correct? Like
yeah,
sexual fantasies and stuff like that. So okay, if anyone from where I work, and I'm gonna say it, I work at Beaumont. If anyone from my work is watching this, my novel that I'm writing, Bitch, is violently graphic. It's very explicit in sex. There's a lot of sexuality in there. I mean, it's a human man and a werewolf female. They're in a relationship. There's going to be scenes that are uncomfortable to read, and they're very, very graphic. I won't go into bestiality or anything like that. Maybe it's in there, maybe it's not. But you you have to cross lines. You have to push the boundaries in order to keep the reader thinking, "Wow, I've never seen this. This is new. Everything is standing on its head in this." I flip around the lore and the legends of all these werewolves and vampires and zombies and witches and all these things, and I flip it, and everything is different and unexpected. But they're like I said, it's very graphic, both violently and sexually. So I mean, if I'm putting this out there on YouTube and I'm saying, hey, this is what's going on, and someone from my work sees it, I don't see in your case how that can be how they can be held uh, within merit to do that. That's absolutely ridiculous. And I think you have a good case if your union is strong enough to fight for everything that they should be fighting for union dues paying member. I think you have a good chance. It's a long
Well,
time. 2 years is a long time. You were going for full back pay and to be made whole, I would imagine. So that should, if you win, when you win, it sounds to me, I would imagine you would get all your back pay for that and be returned with seniority and PTO time and all that good stuff, hopefully.
I hope so. That's what I'm gunning for. But I have blocked most, not all, but most of the people I've worked with at the hospital.
That
I
sounds like
blocked.
that would be a good idea. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the exception of a given few, but I've been seeing a lot of fishy stuff since. I mean, this is one thing that they don't realize is I'm still watching.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm still watching. And I'll tell you, if you're not part of the clique, you're outed. And I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of that.
Mhm.
Yep. So
Yeah.
I am fighting it, but the good news for me is I still had a part-time job I was able to fall back on, and I've been there working full-time ever since, and I haven't missed any time with them either. I'm very good at like I'm one of these people. If I'm hired to do a job, I show up.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I've noticed with a lot of jobs I've had, not that I've had a lot of jobs, but you get my point. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
People too lazy to show up for work. They want paid, but they don't want to do anything. And it ends up
Right.
falling on people like me. And I had coworkers at the hospital that would complain because I was doing 12, 13, 14 shifts a pay period. Well, if you people would answer your fucking phones, I would only have to do 10 like I'm expected to,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, I mean, I remember there was a couple nights, one in particular, I was watching Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Just got done the opening prologue sequence with all the footage from the first three movies. My phone rings. Supervisor needed me to come in. I, I come in. I joked with her. I said, "You saved Axel and Nurse Morgan. You
God
saved
damn it,
them."
Axel. You are the Super
What?
Bowl of self abuse. I
Yep.
must be nuts. I mean, good night, Axel. He still didn't get lucky whether you saved him or not. She was pissed.
Yep. But I mean, I still went into work, and all I would hear is complaints and from people that just didn't want to do their job. So I think that there were people, they're not going to admit this, but I think Toronto had a little bit to do with me being fired. They're not going to admit it, but I think it did because I did prefer Toronto and I was planning on moving to Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think the cuckold interview had a little bit to do with that, but I'm not involved with the lifestyle, and who I interview on my show is none of their fucking business. And number three, yeah, I fucking blew up. My boss there knew I was having some self-esteem issues dealing with the situation with this person at work, the girl I liked. And that was between me and my boss. This other person come and knows, I think he was interested in her. That's what I think.
Yeah.
He won't admit
There's
it.
there's a lot of
Yep.
that drama everywhere you work too.
But I'll tell you one thing, I haven't seen him since because I think he knows full well that it would be a bad idea. That would be one of the hard things if I did go back. And people, I've had people ask me and said, "Would you really go back there to work there with all those people there that hate you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I look at it a little differently. They're a plain full, they're a savanna full of gazelles, and I'm the spotted hyena. And there's a reason I have a big toothy grin on my face. Because the moment I bolt, they're gonna bolt. And I'm bolting in their direction, they're gonna scatter. Then I
Is
just go
that
off and do my work."
I'm not trying to cut you off, but I'm really intrigued. Is that a Charmed shirt that you're wearing? I'm seeing like, is that Alyssa Milano on there? And is that from? Oh, okay. Oh, makes more sense now. I love her.
That's Emma Stone, who I'm
Yeah.
hoping gets her second Oscar nomination or
Did you see
Oscar
Cruella?
win. Yeah, I've got it here.
Cruella was an amazing movie. It's one of the ones that I watch over and over. To me, it's almost like The Devil Wears Prada Part Two.
Hmm? I
It's a
loved her
good.
in that,
Those
and
are
I
two
want to
good
see
movies
Poor
to watch back.
Things.
Yeah.
I want to see Poor Things so bad, and I hope she
So
gets her second Oscars.
every
Huh?
image on there is every image is Emma Stone in a different role or a different
Hmm.
appearance. Okay.
Well, you got her here with her Oscar in her hand, and they're all around on the shirt. There were different shirts with various different artists, and I found this one online, and I got it.
Left, your left
Yeah,
shoulder kind of looks like Rose McGowan a little bit, and that's your right shoulder almost looks like it could be Alyssa Milano. That's why I thought it might be a Charmed shirt. And now I see Emma Stone in every image since you pointed it out.
yeah. But yeah, we both work in the hospital, and I imagine they're gonna do everything they can to screw me out of it. But I mean, I'm sorry, I can own my wrong, but this could have been fucking fixed.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna bring back people who've been intoxicated, high, or stolen stuff, then I think this could be fixed. No missed time, 9 Bravos, worked doubles, worked holidays. I would say, yeah, maybe a little anger management. I don't know. I think this could have been fixed. So I think there's something a little different. And judging from, like I said, one of my other coworkers there, I wasn't even called in as a witness, and he was innocent.
Yeah, that's fishy.
Yeah, yep. So I'm not too pleased with what's gone on there, and
Mm-hmm.
I know of somebody right now. I won't name names on that, but is out on stress leave from there right now, and another one of these loner types, not part of the clique, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. So that was a hard part of the first part of my year, but they're not going to break me.
Right.
Yeah, they're not going to break me. But I'll tell you one thing: if I'm ever in that hospital for any reason, I'm going to be the one making decision what housekeepers come in and clean in my room.
Yeah.
There'll be no games with me at all. I won't put up with it. Anybody that stuck a knife in my back, stay away. Like, stay away. I won't put up with it.
Right.
Yep. Yep. But yeah, I thought it was interesting hearing about the salt packet and napkins. That's so
Yeah,
fucking stupid. But
it
yet you
is.
can't get a lock on a door.
Right. I guess $6,000 is too much to keep 8 people safe. Then they said, well, we have the little travel panic buttons that you wear around your neck,
Hmm?
and there's a staff of 6 in my office, 8 in my office, and then there's like 6 in the what we call the dry room. It's the radiologist where the X-ray techs work, and those are for them as well. So you have a staff of like 12, sometimes maybe more people, around a dozen people. There's only 2 of those travel necklaces. So what are we get to pick and choose who lives that day? 10 die, 2 live. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous.
Yep. So yeah, it's greed. And
Hmm.
yeah, but it
Can
makes
I
what,
want to
huh?
I'm sorry, I was gonna say I want to flip the subject from greed
You
to
know what?
generosity.
Yeah, let's do that.
I just want to mention that I'm wearing, this is the Linda Blair World Heart Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm doing with the Terror Express is I have a goal for second season to raise money for animal charities and organizations to help animals in need. We've raised money for Maui and for displaced animals, and so far we've raised hundreds of dollars um, that have gone toward all these different animal charities. And there's perks on the Terror Express where people can don't send me money. I'm not looking for any money. All you got to do is send a receipt of any animal donation or any charity donation, actually, even if it's just your favorite charity. It doesn't have to be specifically for animals. Like Greg, I know you're big on suicide. So if you have a receipt for any suicide donations, you can email them to terror_express@yahoo.com, and you can pick a perk. I'll send you out a list of perks. You can co-host an episode. You can get recipes. I get recipes from every guest that comes on. Carol Locatell, bless her. I was fortunate enough to meet her and have her on the show, and she shared her actual Moz stew recipe. I have it, so people can show they've made donations and get a copy of Carol's real Moz fucking slop recipe. So that's one thing. I'm on Cameo. If you book me on Cameo for less than the cost of a greeting card, 100% of funds raised there also go to help animals in need. So I'm trying to make a difference in the life of animals with the Terror Express. So
Mention
we've
Linda
donated
Blair.
to Linda Blair World Heart, and we've donated to ASPCA, and yeah. Now I like that image. If I remember correctly, isn't that image Eileen Dietz on your hat?
Yeah, I don't think Eileen and Linda get along very well, but my situation with Linda, I tried to get her on the show back a few years ago, and I was willing to make a donation to that charity to get her to come on. And whoever responded to it asked how much I was going to donate. And that's an uncomfortable question, and I didn't answer it, and I didn't have her on.
Yeah, I've had two guests where I won't name names on one of them. I had a guest, I guess, was under the assumption that I was going to pay to have them on, and I didn't know through our whole conversation, and literally set up a date and time, and then they said, "Oh, I'm $50 an hour," and I said, "Well, I appreciate the consideration and your time with it. We've had back and forth, but I'm raising charities. I'm not for profit. I don't keep any money for myself. I wouldn't feel right dipping into the funds that I've raised to pay a guest to come on when I'm trying to." And they were very, very gracious and said, "Well, I wasn't aware. Of course, I'll give you an interview. There's no charge." And so I promoted their charity, and that turned out to be a really wonderful interview and a great time. And that person was absolutely amazing and very friendly and funny. And then I had another one. He's like, "Oh, well, talk to my agent," and the agent was, I don't want to say anything toxic or bad, but he was less than friendly. He's like, "Oh, you like I was gonna charge you $200 or something like that," and I explained to him the same thing. We're raising funds. It's a not for profit. It's all going toward animals 100%. And he's like, "Well, all you podcasters are just alike. You assumed all right away that I wasn't going to make an offer. I was going to have my celebrity on for $25." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, but no thanks." So I'll just continue to follow the celebrity on Facebook, and that will never happen. But that's the only negative experience that I've had out of all the episodes and guests that I've had on, was that one.
Yeah, I've got nothing against paying for a guest within reason.
Within reason, yes.
Within reason.
If you have the funds for that, then that's absolutely fine. I think that's great. But if you start paying for all your guests,
I can't do that.
You got to be looking for profit somewhere. Somehow you have to be monetized, and you have to have mercmerchandise.
I'm not any of that.
Yeah, I have merchandise, but I don't promote it or sell it or any. I mean, I do have a Terror Express coffee mug here that's available somewhere. I don't even remember the link to get it. So I mean, it's like I don't even promote that stuff. I think I'm the only one who buys my stuff.
Well, I know I had a guest on for free back in 2017, and then I reached out to have him back on when a particular movie was hitting an anniversary. And I think it was his wife that answered the email and said it would be $800 for 30 minutes. And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah. Fuck, that's steep.
I'm not gonna do that.
Right. Now I can see if you were like, one of these top tier world renowned billboard podcasters who have, and I'm not going to say any guest is not an A-lister, because any guest that you have on, whether it be a celebrity or not, they are what makes your podcast. But for someone to charge $800 for 30 minutes, that better be Julia Roberts. or it
Yep.
better be, it better be somebody of that caliber because it's like that. Woo, give me somebody like that on there. Ryan Gosling is trending right now, maybe him, but
I might do it for Emma Stone, but that has I almost had Olivia Newton-John. I was in talks with her manager for about a year, and he seemed interested. The problem was her health was getting the worst of her.
mhm.
So there was a couple of times it got delayed. And it looked like it was going to be promising the year that she passed away. And then next thing I know, she passed away. And
Her death hit us. Her death hit us hard in our household. We were all big Angie. We call her Angie in our home, and we were big fans of hers. And literally, the day she died, I was at work, and it's like it. I felt that one. That one hit all of us.
yeah, that was because had I got her, that would have been a great thing for me, you know?
Yeah, that would have been an A-lister.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it is what it is. Her manager was very polite. He was never rude to me. He never even
that makes
never
a big
charged
difference.
me.
That
He
makes a big
never,
difference.
yep.
Yeah.
But it just didn't happen. Um, I mean, I've had some names on here. I've had Ralph Bakshi on here a couple times. Tony Basil's been on here. Tiffany's been on here. They're not exactly A-listers, but they're certainly names in the industry. And I've done tributes on major people that have passed away. Like
Yeah.
Ed Hitchcock's granddaughter's been on here. Audrey Hepburn's eldest son. Roddy Piper's
So
son and daughter's been on here.
I'm an Audrey Hepburn fan. Send me the Audrey Hepburn's son interview link.
Oh yeah, that was my
Yeah,
first one.
I had pictures of Audrey Hepburn hanging in my old house for years. I first saw her. Oh my God, why can't I remember the name of this movie where she was a princess and she went in town and she cut her hair short. It
Oh,
was her
Roman
major role.
Holiday. Oh,
Roman
Roman
Holiday.
Holiday. That was so
What a
good.
charming little movie. I loved that movie and I loved her in it. And it, Eddie Albert was so young. I didn't even hardly recognize him. It was probably 30, 40 minutes into the movie. He'd already been shown a few times, like, well, that guy looks familiar, but I can't place him. And I was like, Green Acres. Wow, is he young? But yeah, the whole Gregory Peck, and that was such a great movie. That is the movie that made me an Audrey Hepburn fan. And that is the movie that had me hang pictures of Audrey Hepburn up in my house, not in my bedroom, but in my living room for years. I had breakfast at Tiffany's. I had um, I had her as Eliza Doolittle. I had her from Roman Holiday. Wait Until Dark. I mean,
Oh,
all
love Wait Till Dark.
she actually made a rated R horror movie with her husband. I can't remember the name of it. I've seen it. It wasn't great, but it's just the fact that she made a movie that was rated R. So that was a nice little treat. It's not like I said. It's like a Sidney Sheldon, I believe, kind of story from the early '90s, late '80s, or something that she had done just
Yeah.
within a year of her illness and passing, I believe.
When I had her son on, that was the first interview I did out of Rome, Italy, because that was when I was doing them on the phone at the station, and he was Rome, Italy, so that was pretty darn cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't like even during the strike, I've had people ask me, say, "Aren't you worried about the strike? How it'll affect your podcast?" And I'm like, "Well, number one, I don't make money with it, and number two, I'm at no shortage for get. Look, I had one of my former cleaning supervisors come on here just because she asked.
hmm Oh, I've
And
invited my coworkers on. Like I said, one of the podcast names that I have is Terror Talk. I've told them, come on, let's talk about your favorite scary movie. And then I've had friends say, "Oh, I've had this real supernatural experience happen." I said, "Oh, come on, let's do our Scaredy Cat podcast. Let the cat out of the bag, kind of thing." And so yeah,
Yeah.
I invite anybody who wants to be on.
Yeah. Well, I just, and I said to this person, like I even had one of my coworkers I worked with at the hospital come on because she had a side hustle of selling makeup, and I never knew this side of her, and I had her come on and promote that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she's one of the few I'm still in touch with, but but I never had an issue with that. I was able to still get people on. Um, some people couldn't due to the strike, and I just let it be.
Right. That's why I didn't even reach out to anybody during that whole strike, and I still haven't. Um, like I said, I'm enjoying with all these projects that I'm writing, and my grandson, he's 7 months old, and I spend as much time with him and my daughter as I can. And so my time is, I still love the podcast and I still love talking to people, but it's not something that I is at the top of my priority list right now. I can see it becoming that way again once, maybe once my Please Don't Put My Eyes in Your Mason Jar is published, that's been submitted, or as soon as Bitch is finished. I'm hoping to have Bitch finished and published by the end of February. I want it to be finished by January and hopefully published very shortly after that. So I have time. I have plans on taking off a week of work in January if it's not finished, just to work feverishly on getting that done. It's I got to tell you, Bitch is my love child. I fell in love with the characters, and this is probably gonna sound really stupid. I don't know if this is a thing, but when I was writing it, there's a couple scenes I was writing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm crying. Why am I crying? This scene was so touching. That sounds really stupid, but I've invested myself in these characters. It started out as these short 20, 30 page screenplays and 4 different stories that I sent off to all these competitions, and they've done really well. I'm proud of all the placements, final, semifinal, the official selection. I've got like this big slew of laurels that I'm really proud of. So uh, yeah, Bitch is my love child. I love every character on there, and I've actually, like I said, I don't know if this is normal, but I feel a connection to them almost. Like when I'm writing, I feel like I'm away from the real world now. I'm spending time with my friends that live in this little town who I didn't give a name. I did in this little school that they work at that I didn't give a name, and I don't name the town and I don't name the school because I want to keep it very open to where the reader can be reading and be like, oh, maybe this is where I live. Oh, this doesn't take place in California because it doesn't say Los Angeles. It doesn't say a town. Maybe this is where I live. Maybe this is in Detroit. Maybe this is in Oregon. Maybe this is in New York. Maybe this is in Australia. Maybe this is in Mexico. You know what I mean? So it's just like I wanted it to be very non-specific as to where it happens. It could happen in the reader's backyard. And I thought that would be kind of a fun little twist. Because I had someone say, well, where does this take place? You don't mention the name of the town. There's no name of the school. I said that was just a conscious choice not to do that. It could be the school down the street. These kids that are these gifted kids with this guy whose life is about to change forever could take place in your town, in your school down the street. So that's what I wanted to accomplish with that, to kind of immerse the reader, kind of a interactive reading experience without actually interactive actions needed.
I might have asked this before, but I don't remember. But um, like when I think of some of my favorite werewolf movies, I think of American Werewolf in London, The Howling or
Yeah.
two. Did you have
Yes.
any influences when you were
I
writing
oh
Bitch?
yes. Let me tell you some of my characters when I'm writing it in my mind. Obviously, the reader. The great thing about reading is you use your imagination. In my mind, Karen, the alpha, is based off of the look of the werewolves that were in The Howling, Dog Soldiers, all the '80s,
I
early
like
'90s
that.
werewolves that are big and scary and not like Timberwolves. They're actually monstrous werewolves from '80s throwback.
Hmm.
And but there's a twist on it, and I don't want to give away too much, but it's a fun twist where all I will say is the werewolves in my story are not what you expect. I'm going to leave it at that. And I wrote 4 scripts. I wrote Bitch, and then I wrote the sequel, Big Bitch. And then there's a son of a bitch, and then there's Bitches. But what I did is I'm incorporating all of them into four kind of like novellas into one continuing novel, and they're all going to be available in one one book. So, and it's
You
really
caught me
fun,
off
and
guard with those titles.
each title is definitely tied into the storyline of each installment, each act, if you will, in it right now. So
I love that. I love that.
I will say in Bitch, like I said, it's very graphic. I will say the reader finds out that it takes more than one swing of an axe to remove a head off of a human body. It's and there's a scene in there. I guess I will say this. I just want people to realize how graphic this is. A guy is in his last moments and he's trapped and he can't do anything. And there's a guy with a fallen axe who comes out and raises the axe. And your self defense is this.
Mm-hmm.
So the axe comes down here, and it's of course it's described with anatomy, terminology and all that. But the axe comes down here on the palm of his hand and slices down his arm, so his arm falls open like this, and it dangles at his elbow. And then the killer removes his head with the axe with several blows, because it doesn't just like in Prom Night when the guy is at the stage and he swings the axe and the head rolls out.
Mm-hmm.
It takes more than one swing of an axe to remove a head in the story. It's very graphic, and then you got the popping sound and the head being carried by the piece of the cervical spine that's sticking out, and he's just kind of swinging it along. And these are the kind of kills that I'm writing. I guess there's some characters you say I hate that I love to kill them. So there's zombies and witches. It's kind of a True Blood, but it's nothing like Twilight. Like I said, this is
Oh, I hope
if it
not.
got if it got parental discretion advised or explicit material or whatever, that yellow sticker you get slapped on it, that would make me happy. That is what I am going for. It's and the sex is very, very detailed, very detailed. It's almost soft porn, reading soft porn. Like, are you familiar with Anne Rice, who wrote Interview with the Vampire and
I'm familiar
all
with
those?
her. Yep.
She has a set of books, Sleeping Beauty, that she wrote under a different name. That's very sexually graphic, and that's what I was kind of inspired by when I was writing the sexual scenes in Bitch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Um, yeah, so I hope that you get to make those. I hope that you get them published. I love the
Oh,
sound of
they
those.
will be. They will be. I'm almost halfway through it. I have maybe 30 or 40 more pages, and I'll be at my halfway mark.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
Terror Express, you say it's kind of on hiatus or a little bit right now. You say you got
Mhm.
little branches off, like
Yes.
different sections. Now, what made you do that?
I wanted to be able to have one channel. It started out, YouTube was my primary focus when I started out. And I wanted to have my original discussion for the podcast with Orlando was let's have celebrity guests on from horror movies talking about the
Mm-hmm.
real life supernatural experience. But I didn't want to start jumbling all these different things together. I wanted to have filmmakers come on and promote their stuff. I wanted to have fans of horror come on and talk about horror movies. I wanted to have just normal everyday people come on and talk about their real life supernatural experiences like the celebrity guests do. And instead of just putting it all onto one YouTube channel, what I've done is I've divided it into different sections. So that I have my Scaredy Cat, my Terrorize, my Terror Talk, and my Terror Expressed. Those are the four things. So like if you wanted to come on and talk about your podcast or any promotions that you're putting out there, any books or movies that you're promoting, that would be my Terrorize, because I'm rising the filmmakers up to talk about their terror projects.
Okay.
So the point of Terrorize is to rise them up and let them share, to gloat, and to talk about the love of the craft and what they have coming out and what they're working on.
Okay. Okay. One thing we should talk about, and so far this has been wonderful, that this interview has. And like I said, I'm having Orlando on tomorrow, and like I think he kind of wants to put this in the past, but I know
Mhm.
you wanted to address the whole plagiarizing accusation that was brought up. And I'm going to allow you to speak about that. Again, I no
Well,
dog in the fight on that.
Oh, I think just listening to what Bitch is about, and the thing that kind of red flagged me in your interview with him that you did a year ago. I know it should be upcoming soon. One of the things was he said Jason's Bitch and the movie that he went on to reference were not the same. And then he went on to carry on and said that I plagiarized, and that it's a totally different thing. The Jason Ritter movie, Bitch, is about a woman, a wife, a mother, a worker. You know, she's got all this stuff going on, and she's under all this enormous stress and anxiety. And one day she just snaps, and to pull away from the reality and to cope with everything and to give up all of her responsibilities, her mind takes her into this place where she thinks that she's a dog and she will not come out of the basement. I watched it a couple of years ago. It was a brilliant movie. It was a very good movie. So she has these emotional problems. She's a human the whole time. She's never a dog. She's never a werewolf. It's not a werewolf movie. It's an emotional, psychological drama about a woman who has just gone over the edge. And Jason Ritter plays her husband, who is trying to support her and get her help. And it's hard for him, and it's hard for the kids and her family. My Bitch is totally different. This is the 80s horror, werewolf, zombies, witches, the whole Bigfoot is in this. A blue tarantula is in this. It's got nothing to do with the Jason Ritter movie. So the only thing that My Bitch and that bitch have in common is the title. And I was struggling with the perfect title for this, and I thought I was going to call it my girlfriend the werewolf, or something like that. And I thought that's kind of corny, kind of sounds from like the 50s. And one of my coworkers was reading it, and I said, I'm having trouble coming up with this name, and she says, Bitch. I'm like, okay. So Chandra, if you are watching this, thank you. Chandra Denton is the name of the person who came up with my wonderful title, Bitch, and I loved it the moment she said it, and it's what it's been since.
I never heard of that Jason Ritter movie.
It's a very good movie. I bought it on Vudu for like $5. You can probably just do a search and find it on like Tubi or something. But it's a very good movie. It's very sad to see what this character, the mother and the wife, goes through, and how she's overworked and underappreciated, not only at work but kind of like at home. She's taken advantage of by her kids, and she just withdraws into this dark place inside of herself and becomes this kind of like this alter ego who doesn't have to deal with anything. I mean, she's literally in the basement, she's living like a dog. I think she even defecates the basement, and she does. I remember there's a scene where Ritter goes in the basement and there's like shit smeared all over the walls. And like she really snapped in that movie, and it was very touching movie, actually. I remember when it was over, I thought, wow, I felt so many emotions watching that. And it's a very, very good movie. If you like dramas about stuff like, I'm getting chills talking about it, but I recommend watching that. That's a good movie. Very good movie.
I can get away with that because I could just blame it on Skittles.
Now, Skittles is the boy, right?
Yeah. He's over there asleep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Someone said I should write a fifth story in the bitch journey and call it Stupid Bitch. I'm like, I don't know.
Please, yes.
Where I would go with that. Where would that go? that
yes.
One might be a little offensive.
Do it.
I know a lot of stupid bitches I can base it after, but I think it just ends with bitches because it's the perfect tie-up, and every character in there has an amazing character arc. You have to have character arcs.
Oh, you got to do Stupid Bitch.
Stupid Bitch. Greg, it might have been you. Did you suggest this years ago when you first heard? It wasn't you, was it?
Stupid Bitch. I wish I could take credit for that.
I honestly don't remember who said I need to write a fifth one and call it Stupid Bitch. I wish I would give credit to who that was, but no, I can't remember who it was. But at the end of Bitches, it's like I said, my characters have this perfect arc that I'm like, I'll give you an example. There's a girlfriend who's obsessed with her boyfriend, and she is ready to murder him. She has a shrine. He broke up with her. She has a gun. And I'll release this because this happens early in the first Bitch. That's what her character is about. But by the end of Bitches, and again, I don't want to give anything away, but her character arc is a 180.
Good.
and everything she goes through. And I think every character should have that character arc, or every character needs to support a character that contributes to that outcome of their character.
You still gotta do stupid bitch. Just yes, you gotta do that.
I wouldn't even know how to develop a character that would tie into that title.
Well, you got lots of time to think about it.
Yeah.
My goodness, yes. Oh, I literally do it now. You got to do it. It's a perfect title. Oh man,
It is a fun. Maybe that could be the comedy spoof that comes afterwards. Its own little
there you
short
go.
story after the fact. Maybe a little follow up, because there are new characters that I brought in the final story that I'm sure I could find one in there that would be a stupid bitch.
Oh well. Do you have anything else you want to plug and promote on here?
No, just like I said, watch out for bitch. And then my aunt story, When I Die, should be coming out within the next couple of weeks. Possible another the supernatural spiritual serial killer movie or story called Please Don't Put My Eyes in Your Mason Jar, that I've submitted and may possibly be publishing myself. I'm not sure. Looking at Barnes and Noble right now. My aunt's story, When I Die, when it's released, will be free. There's no charge on that. I want everyone to know her story, and I don't want anyone to have to pay for it. So I will be uploading that for free. So um, when that's ready to go out, I will be promoting that and getting that story out there. Um, you know, like I said, send me your receipts to charity donations and to terror_express@yahoo.com, and I'll respond with some cool perks that you could get. And I'm looking to raise $1,000. And like I said, I've raised a couple $100 already, maybe 300 or 400. I have to go back and check my records, but I've been pretty good with Cameo. That's probably raised quite a bit of money to go toward them. Like I said, the Animal Charity Foundation for Linda Blair is one of my charities that I donated to, and among a few others, I'm helping not just like our Earth, planet, or the when I say Earth, I mean the ground, the land. I'm also doing one for dolphins and whales, and the sea life is also because I love dolphins and whales and sharks and all that is fascinating. And two things on my bucket list, and that's it: swim with dolphins, meet Dolly Parton. Those are my only two bucket list wishes that I have. So yeah, I want it. I look at animals. I look at my pit bull, and I think I couldn't imagine my dog getting out and getting lost and going through these hard times and being homeless and being hurt or abused or scared, or being born into that and being chained up and being neglected and being hungry and sick, and all those things. Those things really bother me. So I wanted to try and find a way that I can feel like I could be contributing to something to help with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, that is terrific. And I also think, that I wish that there was more on your 13 fanboy role as a security guard, because it's almost, to me, I don't know if there was anything else shot, but I know they show you post death scene, but I probably would have put a sequence in there that where Tracy Savage round a corner and kind of almost like that Sheriff Brackett, where Laurie runs into Sheriff Brackett, something like
Yeah.
that. Just have
No,
you checking around.
unfortunately, my death scene was the only scene that was shot with me in it, other than the convention with Corey Feldman, which I don't see me as playing. I know there's an image out there of me with security guard on, where I'm kind of looking over to the side, like, what is that
Yeah.
kind of thing. That
Uh-huh.
was literally just a costume test to see how security guard costume looked. That wasn't actually part of the movie. That was just as a fitting for the costume. for the
I think I would
uniform.
have put something like that in there, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I think there was some more that could have been had, but
My biggest thing that I got to take, two things I took away from it was one, being on set meant more to me than being in the movie, even though my other third bucket list, my life was to be in a Friday the 13th movie. I'm not going to get any closer than being a victim in a movie with 12 Friday the 13th cast members that kind of tie in a little bit with that franchise as far as the actors. But so I got to do that. And the other big bragging right that I get to say is I got to play Jason Voorhees in the movie with Kane Hodder and CJ Graham. How many people get to say they played Jason Voorhees? So that was, and this isn't a. I mean, obviously you got your fan films, which are great, and I love to promote those. But I didn't play Jason Voorhees in a fan film. I played Jason Voorhees in a major release of of an actual film that's not a fan film. That to me is my biggest bragging right of 13 Fanboy. It's quick, but it's in the credits. It's on IMDb, so it's, and you only see me for like a flash, literally in the convention scene with Corey Feldman. You see me standing there with like the Jason Garbon and this generic mask. But when I showed my name up there, it's like, ha, that's fucking awesome. I'm Jason Voorhees, and Kane Hodder is right next to me, and CJ Graham is right next to me. Jason Voorhees over here. Jason Voorhees over here. Jason Voorhees right here. So that was really cool.
I met Corey Feldman at Frightmare in the Falls, and
Yeah, he was cool.
a very strange guy.
He was funny. His sense of humor was great.
Yeah, no,
His
but
wife Courtney and son Zen were there. They were great, very friendly, very. Courtney's manners were really kind of like you don't see anymore. She had really good manners. She was thank you and you're welcome, and she was polite and may I and how are you and good evening and nice to meet you. She was very friendly, and so was Corey. They both were great to work with, even though it was just for one day. It was a day that I will not forget.
well, I've done 4 horror-ramas. I've done 3 Frightmare in the Falls and 1 Toronto Comic Con, and I've done 3 of these with Lisa Langlois. And she wants to do well, she helped me get my passport, so I've now got one. I haven't used it, but because she wants to do Chiller, so if I can get
Where
off
is that
to
one?
New Jersey.
Where New Jersey? No. New Jersey's got a lot of cool conventions and events.
Yeah,
It's
I
almost
want.
like that's like almost like the heartbeat in the United States for conventions and events. Everything's in New Jersey. Of course,
Yeah,
you've got the birthplace of Friday the 13th there. You've got the campground and everything like that. So that's kind of is ground zero for horror, at least in
well,
that franchise.
I'm open to doing it. You know, I mean, she thinks I should branch out, and so if
Yeah.
I can get the time off, I'll definitely go do it. I've never been to the States before, as far as I know, unless my folks took me there when I was young and I don't remember it, but no recollection for me. But so I think I'm going to do that. So, but yeah, I've had fun at these, and Ted White was always my favorite Jason, and I was lucky twice and got a signed hockey mask from him. So that was a highlight for me. So yeah, but anyway, no, I think as far as 13 Fanboy goes, I told Tracy Savage she was the reason I spent the money, and she's come on here 4 times, and
Well,
all
I have a Tracy
day.
Savage story if you want to hear it.
Sure.
I got to spend about 20 minutes with Tracy. It was just the two of us. We were walking around the college campus where her scene was filmed. They were setting up a shoot. I should have probably been helping set up the shoot, or set up the shoot, but I didn't. I let my love of Friday the 13th Part 3 get the better of me because that's my favorite, not only installment, it's my favorite movie ever of all times over any movie. And I think I may have fanboyed a little bit, and I put all my responsibilities on the back shelf and I walked with Tracy for 20 minutes. On her Wikipedia, it says she was born and raised in Ann Arbor, Michigan. She was not born and raised in Ann Arbor, Michigan. She went to Ann Arbor for her journalism courses that she took for college. She was born, and I don't remember the name. She told me the name of the city. But this is I think I won't forget this for some reason. This sticks out. She held her hand up. Am I facing the right way for Michigan on your computer? I feel like I'm, yeah. But anyway, she said, I wasn't born in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I didn't go to Ann Arbor, Michigan as a child. I was never there because I was born here in the thumb. And she told me the name of the city. I couldn't remember it now. But so she wasn't born anywhere around here. She was born over here and raised over here. So Wikipedia, you've got that wrong. Somebody should update that. If I could remember the name of the town, I would update that. But maybe one day Tracy will have that updated.
Yeah.
So, but my 20 minutes with her was probably one of the 10 great experiences that I had. She was very, very sweet. I've friend requested her and she hasn't accepted it. So, but I have that memory. So that's good enough for me. I have pictures and, of us together, and she's very gracious and patient with the fans. So she had a flight to catch. She had to get to Albuquerque. She still took those few minutes to stop on her way to the car and take a picture with the fan, go back to the car, stop on the way to the car, take another picture with another fan, head toward the car, stop, take another picture with another fan. Tracy, just one more. I know it was kind of like a red carpet event. Hey, Tracy, look over here. Click, click, click. But she was very gracious, and she always stopped for that one more photo. And I don't know if she made her flight on time. I hope she did. I know we were in a schedule and conflict to hurry up and get that scene done, but it was fun. And then we had Tommy Lee Jones right across the street filming when Tracy filmed her scene. And Tracy, let me tell you what, she screamed during her scene and screamed take after take, kept screaming. Tommy Lee Jones actually sent one of his staff members over to the museum where we were filming, because we shot that whole basement scene in an actual museum, and it said, is everything okay? Do I need to call the police? Is someone being hurt over here? Because her scream was so convincing. It actually pulled from Tommy Lee Jones's production to come over and check on us to make sure no one was being hurt. So that was fun. So that's how good Tracy was with her scream over and over and over again.
Wow.
Which unfortunately, I was down there for the actual drill scene, but I wasn't there for the take after take after take. And did I tell you the bathroom story? I was in the bathroom. I was a production assistant, which was my biggest takeaway from the movie. I wasn't the security guard. I wasn't Jason Voorhees. I was the production assistant. That was my first role involvement. But I was in the bathroom. I have the earpiece on. I hear action, so everyone has to be super quiet during action because you're rolling. You can't have any noises in the background. So I'm like, okay, gotta wait. And I hear cut. I'm like, cool. So I get up. I finish doing what I'm doing, and I go to flush the toilet, but then I hear pictures up, action, and I'm like, oh, shit, I can't flush yet. So I had to stand there. Mind you, very old, creaky wooden floors that are probably over 100 years old. You shift your weight and you creak. So I couldn't even move. And I'm like, all right, cut. And I'm like, all right, cool, flush. And then I go to wash my hands before I turn the water on. I hear action. I'm like, fuck, now I can't wash my hands. So I had to stand there. I was in the bathroom for like an hour for what should have taken me only like 2 or 3 minutes. I had to cut action. You can't move. So by the time I finally got done, I ran down the stairs and I hear action. And that's when the drill was brought out and that the blood was brought out, and I got to see that part made. But yeah, I was stuck in the bathroom for an hour just trying to wash my hands, not to make noises while the cameras were rolling. So that was unforgettable too. I will never forget what that fucking bathroom looks like. How small it was and how stark white it was and how old the wooden floors were. But I got really familiar with that little closet, water closet, if you will.
I just know Tracy
was fun.
telling me that he had to use like 1 foot at a time in a sink to wash all the red off her.
that was the same bathroom that I was locked in. So she literally went in that bathroom after I was done. And I was thinking, thank God it took me over an hour to wash my hands because I had time to kind of clear up a little bit from what I had done in there earlier. So, but yeah, I couldn't imagine her trying to maneuver in that little space with the door closed and trying to wash herself off and get all that blood and bananas. They use bananas for brain in that, but it was messy and there's not much maneuvering room in there.
Well, she was like head to toe red, so I don't even know how she could have positioned herself to clean all that off, but
Exactly. It was a very small, tight space too.
like
Like
playing
if you're sitting
Twister
on
in
the
a
toilet
sink.
and you sneeze, if you're sitting on the toilet and you sneeze, you're gonna hit your head on the wall in front of you. It's like, achoo, ow. That's gonna happen. It was that small.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how she managed to bathe in that little sink, but props for doing it.
There you go. Jennifer Bonko probably could have figured something out.
Yeah, she was funny. She was probably one of my favorite memories. Getting lost, driving around at 3 a.m. thinking my GPS fucked up. I'm from Detroit. I've never been to New Mexico. And all I could think of is while I'm lost in New Mexico at 3 a.m. was, does Jennifer realize that I'm driving her around aimlessly because I have no idea where we are? Is she panicking and just being friendly and not revealing her fear, or is she just thinking I know what I'm doing? But I ended up finding my way back and got her home safe that night. But that was probably my favorite memory. Lost in New Mexico with Jennifer Banco
Love that
and her dad,
story.
who was sleeping in the back seat.
I love that story you told about her dad like played jokes on her and put the what was
Yes,
it, saran wrap on the toilet
the,
and
yes, and the turtles in the sewer. His name's Bruce. He was funny.
yeah. And I
He's
love
funny.
Laura Park Lincoln as well. I love
Yeah,
Laura. Yeah.
I got to hug her and got to talk to her for a little bit, and I got to give her a big jar of that Nutella that I had mentioned before. So
Hmm.
she was sweet. She was probably one of the most professional demeanors on set as far as the cast from the franchise went. She was very like prep. Like she would walk back for. To me, it seemed like she was preparing, getting that mind space of what her character went through in the movie. It's like how you see actors in theater, how they get ready and they're like doing all these exercises and they're walking and they're pacing. That was Laura Park Lincoln to me. She was the epitome of a professional actress preparing for her performance.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, do you have anything else you want to plug and promote on here?
Nothing that I can think of. Bitch, Terror Express. I'm. I don't. You mentioned you're having an interview tomorrow with Orlando. I don't know that I'll watch it, but I'd be interested to see what he's been up to and what he's been putting out and how he's doing. And I don't wish him any ill will or anything like that. But the interview that you did last year that I know is coming up. There were a few things that were said, but
Well,
and I thank you for letting me come on and kind of
yeah.
clarify and clear that up a little bit.
Well, I told Orlando I was having you back on too, so he
Yeah,
knows 'cause I want him to know. And but I think he wants to put this behind us, and I
yeah.
think he wants to plug and promote the plays he's been doing in Camp Pleasant Lake, and
Hmm.
I think he just wants to move on from it. And I'm really glad that we're able to do this. I don't know whether you were nervous going into this, but
Not real.
well, I'm glad you weren't. You weren't hijacked. You were treated well, as I said you would be. Um, but now, whether I am able to make peace with Debbie Sue or Judy Aronson, that's right now that's non-existent, especially in the case of Judy. But nonetheless, I'm glad we were able to make this peace today, and we can reconnect on Facebook. I'm happy to do that, and I wish you well, and I look forward to when you have Kevin Kane on. I think you'll find that to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I will be reaching out to him as soon. Like I said, as soon as at least two of these projects are under my belt, and when I start reaching out again, I will reach out to him. I did, like I said, I checked out his stuff, and he's fascinating. I
He's
think what he's
pretty
doing is
fascinating.
very unique indeed.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. 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 Yeah.
Actually, I think he might Don't quote me. I'm wondering if he's located down around your area.
Hmm. I'll have to find out.
He
I
might.
have interviewed some guests. Not Betsy Baker. Teresa Tilley from Evil Dead is from Detroit. So I got to interview her on my show. I met her in person too. She was great. Both of them. Betsy
I
Baker was
met
also
both of
on
them.
the show.
I met
Yeah.
both of them last at Frightmare in the
Aren't
Falls.
they
I have
amazing? They were such great with their fans. They were fantastic. Yeah, they both been on the Terror Express, and Teresa is from Detroit, so that was fun to kind of talk about Detroit a little bit with her.
Teresa. I haven't had on here yet, but I did have Betsy Baker on.
Hmm.
I had, I think, about 9 guests on from that were at Frightmare in the Falls. I know Adam Marcus. Like I met Robert Kurtzman, and he was
Hmm.
wife Marcy King. They were so delighted that I had a Blu-ray of Secret Santa for them to sign. That
Hmm.
Marcy, I want to take a picture of this and send it to Adam.
Yeah, I've had Adam's been on my show too. Adam's a cool cat. I have some artwork of his in my display next to
He's a
Nancy's
great
necklace.
artist.
He is. It's unfortunately during the shipment one of his pieces was broken a little bit, but we never told him. We just display it as proudly as we would have had it not. But we have two pieces. I would show you now, but they're upstairs, unfortunately. But they're like clay, and he puts them in a kiln and he paints them, and they're glossed, and there's a pot pie kind of character that he sent, and um, that we paid for them. I don't want people to think he's just sending us these gifts. They were paid for, but very very intricate detail. But he came on and we actually talked. Like I said, we have a vibe on the show where I want to keep it like a conversation at a cafe over coffee, very friendly and light. And we try and steer away from any negativity or toxicity. But it's funny, his show was the one show that we actually talked. It wasn't a toxic show. It was a show about toxicity in the film industry, and I think that was the only time that subject was actually deliberately discussed on the Terror Express. And how you, because I had asked him, how do you navigate? Some people hate Jason Goes to Hell. Some people love Jason Goes to Hell. You're on your set, you're with your fans. How do you navigate through all the toxicity and the haters? And if you were on a set making a movie and there was toxicity, how would you? Those were the questions that we talked about and how they were addressed.
Well, I've had about 7 or 8 people from Secret Santa on, and he was quite delighted that it's a hilarious movie. So I mean, I was happy to promote it, but
Yeah.
yeah, fun at that con, and I met some of the final chapter people. Kimberly Beck was there. I met her, and
I think if I met Catherine Parks, I would probably just lay down and die and feel so complete as a horror fan, because Vera Sanchez, like I told you, Friday the 13th Part 3 is my all-time favorite movie. And the franchise, Part 5 is my favorite in the franchise, but Part 3 is my. If I were to meet Dana Kimmel or Catherine Parks, I would probably have a heart attack. I would probably be like, that's it. That would do me in, because Vera is my favorite character in the movie. So that elevates her up, I think, above any other character in any other movie that exists for me. And I don't know why. She's pegged as a bitch. I don't see her as a bitch just because Shelley didn't get what he wanted. Now she gets a bad rep from the fans. I see her as this strong, independent woman who knows what she wants, and she's not afraid to say, "Hey, this is not going to happen." But I'm compassionate enough and care enough about you to, let's talk about this after I go outside, and I'll come back in. Of course, that never happened because Jason, he's got other plans. But I think Vera is a great character, and she's not at all a bitch.
I don't know. For me, it would have been Tracy Savage and Melanie Kinnaman would have been the two I probably would have got goosebumps over.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I met Melanie Kinnaman in Chicago. She was very sweet. I had on a shirt with Tiffany Helm. It says "Dance Like No One's Watching," and it had Tiffany Helm's photo. And we talked a little bit about Tiffany, who's also been on the show, and her mother,
Brooke
Brooke Bundy,
Bundy.
has been on the show. And
Yeah.
what a class act, both of them. I loved having them both on. They both have been on twice. I actually had Brooke on, and I surprised her with Tiffany as a co-host. And she had no idea that was happening. That was a big challenge to get scheduled, because Brooke would cancel or I would have to reschedule or Tiffany was busy. So to get all three of us and surprise her and keep it a secret. That was probably one of my biggest reveals on my show. Was hey Brooke, we have a surprise for you, a co-host, and it's your daughter. And her reaction was just so wonderful, and Tiffany was wonderful. And I think based on that, that is probably it was a Mother's Day episode too. So that was probably one of my favorite moments on the show was revealing that Tiffany was my co-host with Brooke. That was great moment.
I think my favorite Friday the 13th are parts 4 and 6. You know,
Yeah.
part
I
6,
do argue that six, to me, six is the most visually stunning. It's absolutely beautiful to look at. The lighting and the scenery and everything is wonderful.
it's the most Rocky horror because I saw that screened at a midnight show in Toronto, and the way that the audience reacted to it was very engaging. And I remember Nancy McLaughlin called me the next day, and I'd said, I just watched you on a screen last night. She said, I know. But the final chapter I haven't seen screened yet, but I mean, I love Ted White in that movie. I think to me, everybody's got their favorite Jasons. Ted White, to me, he was the scariest for me.
Yeah,
And I love the battle damage Kimberly Beck does to him too. Like
yeah, yeah. And
she,
to me, that's why I like Richard Brooker is because he's so tall and menacing. He doesn't run like Ted White, which I think that's Ted's version of Jason is intense because he runs. That scene when Trish is in the house and she's waiting for his next move and he's kind of watching her and he just busts into the run and she has to go up the stairs. That was horrifying. I remember the first time I watched that, my feet were up and I was like this, and I had to stop it, and I was like, oh my god, I can't go on. That scene got me. It kind of reminded me of Halloween 2 when Laurie Strode was in the elevator at the bottom of the basement and the door's like slowly closing. Here comes Michael Myers, and I'm like, I don't do chase scenes very well when it looks like the killer is closing in. That is my biggest scare in horror movies is the gap closing. That
yep,
gets me.
yep. So no, I think the last Friday the 13th we had, I watched the final chapter, and see what that or part 6 are usually my go-tos.
Yeah. They're all my go-to. The Paramount 8. I watch them all on kind of like this rotation. Part 3 is like I said, it's my background noise. I put it on when I'm busy so I can hear it, whether I'm writing or cleaning or dishes or cooking or whatever. Part 3 will be on in the background, but I kind of rotate the rest of them. Part 8 is my Christmas movie. It's weird, but every year it's tradition that when I'm putting up my Christmas tree, I have to have Jason Takes Manhattan playing. So if I watch Jason Takes Manhattan in August, I have this urge to put my Christmas tree up because that's what I relate it to. I don't know why. I don't know how it started, but probably for about 10 years now. Jason Takes
Wow.
Manhattan and up my tree while I watch it. And I start my tree at the beginning when Jim and Susie are getting killed, and I'm finishing cleaning up my mess and putting everything away by the time they find Toby in Times Square. It's
I had
perfect timing.
I had the woman who played Susie on the show, and
Mm-hmm.
she talked to me about how stupid that kill was compared to what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Originally, there was supposed to be a chase scene, and she was supposed to leap off the dock into the water, and Jason was supposed to shoot that spear thing at her
Mm.
in the back. But apparently, the water was too cold, and they didn't have a stunt double. And he was like, she hates the her kill scene because it's like she just blocked herself in the middle of some place where she can't get out of. But
Yeah, yeah. Like, why would someone do that? But it's kind of the same thing with Vera from 3 when she went in the water to get the wallet. She literally goes in ankle deep, and hey, I dropped your wallet. I'm sorry, I got it. If you read the screenplay for Part 3, her death was supposed to be like Susie's in Part 8, in the water, submerged underwater. She sees Jason standing there with the harpoon. She doesn't say, "Who are you? What are you doing?" She goes under the water to try and get away from him and swim where she won't expect her to come up. And there's this whole in the screenplay, there's this whole scene written where Vera's under the water and she can't come up. And every time she does, Jason's there aiming the harpoon at her and she go back under the water. But obviously, time and budget reduced it to what we ended up getting. So I would have loved to have seen that. And they probably did the same thing with Susie. Like you said, the water was cold. There was probably time and budget and and all that stuff. But I agree. It's who's going to lock themselves in that little corner where they can't get away from? Who's not going to jump into the water? So she's the
Yeah,
stupid bitch.
yeah, yeah.
I'll write a backstory about Susie in the woods meeting.
Oh, she had we had fun making fun of it, but she said that
Yeah,
was what it was supposed to be. I was happy
yeah.
I had Peter
I made the writer.
Bergman on a couple times from that movie, so
Yeah,
and he was my favorite part of it as the professor, so
yeah,
no longer
yeah. He
with us.
had one of my favorite kills in that one. The
Yeah,
head duck into the barrel with the rat. That was probably one of my favorite kills in part 8.
yeah. But nonetheless, it was great having you come back on here and make a reconnection, and I feel good about this, and I think we can officially make peace, officially for real this time. I think so. I feel good about things. How are you feeling?
I do want to say one more thing that I feel like it has to be addressed because not between you and me. It's something that Orlando had said, which in the episode that's upcoming.
Okay.
I just want to clarify. He made a statement that I conspired with others to have him removed from the Terror Express. So I just want to clarify
Right.
there were no others involved. It was my sole decision as somebody who wanted to grow a brand. And I sent you a lot of messages on Messenger in the past as to why I felt I had to have him removed, and I'll just leave it at that. But it wasn't anything that anybody else talked me into doing. It was just for the better of the show and for the guests, the safety for the guests, for the purpose of the guests.
Okay.
That was the only reason. It had nothing to do with anybody else. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Well, I'll leave it at that, and hopefully maybe the two of you can make peace at some point and sometime down the future, but I feel good about this, and
I honestly, but I know I accidentally slipped and said the safety of the guest. If I know this is your podcast, I'm not going to say delete or omit anything. But if you feel the urge to feel like you want to remove the part where I said from the safety of my guests, there are some things that I just had to make that decision. Fine, if not, like I said, it's your show. But I didn't mean to say the safety. It was that reason, but it wasn't meant to be said. Whatever you
well,
feel you need to do with that part.
I don't know anything about that, I know
Yeah,
Orlando's
I won't go in, I won't go into it either. I'll just leave it at that. There wasn't a conspiracy of any kind involved.
well, I already went through that whole safety of guest thing with Judy Aronson, and that's total something I can prove otherwise, so but that's
No, my,
okay.
my thing with the whole Orlando thing was even deeper than that. To go back, I sent you back probably months and months ago. I sent you back a kind of a long explanation. Just go back and read that. The details are there.
All right. Well, otherwise, I bid you a good day, and
Pigeon Day too.
absolutely, and
I
when
love your Eileen D. Texas tattoo, by the way. Pazuzu looks good on you.
she was actually, I had purchased this online from her, and she said rather than me um pay the shipping price, she'd bring it to Frightmare in the Falls. So next to Lisa, she was the one I saw the most there
Yeah.
because I spent most of my time at Lisa's table, but helping her. But there was a time or two I made to get away, and I saw actually I even saw Eileen at the hotel lobby. So people get their drinks. I bought
Yeah.
John Dugan a
I
beer.
I saw V Neil in Chicago. I got off the elevator and she was standing right in the lobby in front of me, and we made eye contact and nodded. And I was like, "That's fucking V Neil. She did Beetlejuice." I did eye contact with her. She's the mother of Beetlejuice's look, and I was like, that was kind of a cool moment. Danny Pinturo from Cujo and Who's the Boss just walking by me on his heels, and he was really short and he sat on chairs that were doubled up to make him look taller. He was really cool and friendly and nice, and it was just weird walking around and seeing all these celebrities. I had a moment with Amy Steele because the elevators were crowded. There was only one working, so Amy was coming down the stairwell and I was going up the stairwell. We met halfway, and I had this very brief moment. Obviously, I didn't want to tie her up. I knew she was getting back to her table. I'm like, "Hi, Amy. It's great to see you. I hope you're having a great weekend." And she stopped for a moment and said, "Well, thank you. I am having a great weekend. How is your weekend going?" I'm like, "Oh, it's been going great." And I said, "Well, thank you for being here and have a great weekend." And we continued on. It was literally just that, but just to get that with her, and to because part two was what started it all for me. So to have that private moment with Amy Steele when nobody else was around, it was like that was gold. She was very sweet. I got a couple of signatures from her. I got my picture with her at her table. So yeah, she was great. And every time I got to meet Sean Cunningham. Let me dispel the rumors of Sean. I don't know him in any other manner than being at the convention, but he was very friendly. He asked me about my grandson. And when I got a signature and I got a selfie with him, he's the creator of the franchise, right? Him and Victor Miller. So I said, I have a charity that we're auctioning off for. Can we get your signature on something? And I hear he's greedy and he won't do anything for anyone that he can't make a penny from. So he didn't hesitate. He gave me an autograph for free, and he said that he hopes that the biggest bidder made a great contribution, and that he hopes that the charity that it was involved with received a lot of. The fact that he didn't even stop to think, he's like, "Yeah, I'll give you a free signature for charity." And then he talked with me and other people online. Sean Cunningham was pretty great. He was a great
Oh,
guy.
wow. Okay. I've
Yeah.
never had
So I
him
want
on
to put
here. I've
that
had
out there. I want to give him a little credit. He was pretty fantastic that day.
Okay. I've had Victor Miller on here 3 times. I've never had Sean on here, so
I would love to have Victor Miller on. I actually stand with Victor Miller, and I hope he gets everything that he's entitled to.
well, I could pass his email on to you, so I don't
Appreciate
think
it.
he would
That'd be
mind
great.
that. Yep,
Cool. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I got a couple buildings I got to clean tonight, so
All
I'm
right.
going to
Yeah, I got it
bid
ready for my
you.
daughter coming over with Maverick.
Yeah, there you go. So I bid you a great night. I thank you that we were able to do this and clear the air between us
Yeah.
and yeah,
Thanks for having me again.
absolutely. You take care and put your
You
Christmas
too.
tree up.
Yeah, my Halloween tree. Good
Take care,
night.
man.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.